If nobody talks about you, then you are nobody. Then you are nobody. Remember, child.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Priestess Anansi, and I am one of the goddaughters of Priestess Oshunfunke Ifa, and I'm also a staff member of the Orisha Hoodoo Institute, or OHI. And today I really wanted to talk to you about exploring your personal vibration. So that is the name of the class. Let's get into it. So, why is exploring our personal vibration important? It's important because your personal vibration really affects your environment. It determines what will happen, how you manifest. It determines how you feel and how you will affect people. And if we're talking about being in the priesthood, or just being a mother, or in a relationship, or with anyone, or even just the health of ourselves, then we need to be able to assess our personal vibrations, right? So assessing your personal vibration is an important part of our spiritual practice. And by recognizing and raising our personal vibration, we can better do what we need to do as far as being in alignment, as far as any healing practices that we may be adopting, anything that we want to do to be of service is better, better received, and more healthy for everyone and the environment if we are in alignment with our own energy and the way that we operate and appear and affect our environment and others, right? If we are in a situation where we're trying to grow spiritually, if we're trying to enhance our spiritual gifts, or if we're just in our daily lives and we have roles, we're mothers, we're daughters, aunties, teachers, mental health healers, counselors. This is where we need to make sure that we're in alignment, and that we're vibrating at a frequency that is helpful for others in our environment, including ourselves. So, what exactly is our personal vibration? It is kind of like our energetic fingerprint, okay? It's our very own individual frequency. And like I said, it determines how we feel. It determines how we make people feel, how our environment reacts around us. Um, it's kind of like have you ever been around someone and they are just toxic to be around, and you just feel so drained from being around them? Or you get into the presence of someone that you just enjoy being around. You don't even have to say anything, you don't even have to exchange words, but they just seem to energize you. That what you're feeling is that person's energetic signature or their personal vibration. Um, so it brings me back to being as our roles in society, being mothers, healers, priestesses. We're not going to be very effective, right? If we are not vibrating at a certain frequency, if we tend to take away from our environment, or if we're feeling a certain way, we need to recognize that that might not be the right moment for us to do work that we're being requested to do, right? So we need to know where we stand. And are you in a position to be able to do the things that you need to do based on your personal vibration, right? So if you look at this screen right here, you'll see that it has different columns. You have the God view, the life view, level, and then you have a log here. This is the actual frequency. This would be your hertz, right? Then this is the emotion that you're feeling, and this is the process. So, for example, um, you're feeling well, let's say in God's eyes, this is a vindictive view, right? This is what we would think is, or what we would also equate to as evil. And you're operating in a level of guilt, right? That is a very low vibrating frequency, right? That is a low vibrating frequency. That's a 30 hertz, right? We also may be blaming, we be, everything else is somebody else's fault, not our own. And in our environment, there may be destruction, things may be falling apart, right? So if you're feeling these things right here, then you know that you're in a low vibrational situation, right? And you feel like you've been hexed, or you feel like this god awful force that is against you. You're tired. That's because you're in a negative state, right? When you're feeling positive, and um you're in a you're in a place of love, look how high the frequency is. So often, when I am working with someone and they need to be healing, if I decide to use frequencies, I'm going to use the frequency of 528. That's the frequency of healing, okay? And that is where you want to operate when you are in a role of service, whether it be mother, priesthood, at your job. You want to be in a positive, powerful level. You want to be in the top half of this chart, right? And so I put this here just so you can have an understanding or gauge um, where these emotions stand as far as the frequency and the vibrational scale, because what you put out is going to show up in your environment, and what you're putting out is what you're going to attract. Now I want you to look at this lower picture, because we all walk with an ethereal energy field, right? This is basically kind of like our aura, right? And our energy centers operate within this field right here. And this is basically how far our energy or our vibration extends out from our physical body. And if you think that others in the environment that you are in is not affected by this actual vibe right here, then you're missing something, right? Then you're basically walking around blind, and you probably are not aware or of how you're affecting others, and it can be viewed as being inconsiderate, uncouth, however you want to put it. So, an actual self awareness of how we're operating and how we're taking up space in our environment is very important, especially if we are going to be operating in a place of healing, of service, and things of that nature. So, what are some symptoms of having a low vibration? I put here thoughts and emotions because um, our thoughts are like electrical signals. Okay, they are um, um, they are vibrations, right? And our thoughts do dictate the way we feel. And if you look at the word emotions, just think of it as energy in motion, emotions, energy in motion, right? Everything starts with a thought or an intent, okay, and then it also brings about a certain type of feeling or emotion. And this emotion has a lot of effect on what you're putting out in the atmosphere, what you're putting out in your environment, right? So if you are not aware of your emotions, then you may not be aware of why things are happening the way they're happening, right? You may be depressed, but why are you depressed? And I'm not trying to not take into account of depression, because you know that's not something that many people can explain because it happens, right? And I'm speaking from experience here. But being able to recognize triggers and things that put you in that kind of vibration is really helpful, and it can help you gauge on what you should be doing and what you should be doing. And at that point, there's a lot of self care that needs to happen, right? So that you can raise your vibration. At that point, if you're feeling anything lower than um, the boredom level, I should say, or your neutrality level, then there's some work that needs to be done before you decide that you need to do work for others. Um, so your environment, another way to look at this is look around in your environment. Look how the energy flow is in your environment. If your environment is cluttered, if your environment makes you tired, if there's any big blockages anywhere, that may be an indication of your emotional state or your mental state, which directly affects how you vibrate within your life, right? So if you're experiencing a low vibration, you also may be experiencing troublesome relationships, whether that be at your job, in personal relationships. It's just like you're kind of looking at things with the cup being half empty, right? A lot of times I come into contact with people who just swear up and down that they've been, somebody has some kind of hex on them or whatever. They automatically, when things aren't going right, start to look at other people, and so may have done this to me, or so may have done that to me, when actually there's some inner self work that needs to be done, right? You need to understand that maybe your thought process or the way that you're viewing things and your emotions have a lot to do with the way the environment and people around you are reacting or unfolding. So it's always good to be proactive about how you're feeling and do self check ins, but we'll get into that. Physical ailments may be present. And what I mean by this is you may be tired. And I'm not just talking about um, other I'm not just talking about what your norm is, right? Um, because some of us do experience, we do live with disabilities, okay, and but we know our baseline. We know what our functional levels are, and that's a part of being aware of your vibration. But if you feel yourself getting tired more than normal, or if you are somewhere and you feel yourself being drained in that certain spot, then there's some check-ins and there's some things that you need to become aware of so that you can fix it. um, the longer that you stay in the state, the lower you may become. And then situations may be snowballing all out of control around you before you even realize it or understand it. And what I mean by that is we can get up in the morning and jump out of bed and be rushing and, kind of just not in the present, but just kind of just, just rushing through life and not taking into account, not taking a moment, not breathing, not saying your prayers, or putting yourself in a situation to have a successful, productive day. Um, and so, because of this, because you're rushing around and just not being aware, you may stub your toe. Now your toe hurts. Now you're even more angry, and now you're even more late. And now you got to rush out the house, but you rush out the house and you forget your lunch. So now you're at work or you're stuck in traffic and you realize you forgot your lunch, and then now you're pissed about that, and now you got to go somewhere and stop and find some lunch or whatever. You see how the day can unfold when you're vibrating in a low state. It kind of like attracts worse situations. It just snowballs. It attracts toxic people. Bad things happen, and your outlook on everything just suffers, right? Your productivity suffers. These are symptoms or examples of that you may be in a low vibrational state. um, Anxiety, fear, grief, anger, and some of these things, sure, things happen, life happens, and some of these things are out of our control. Some of these things are a natural reaction to certain things that happen to us in life, right? Um, but how long are we going to sit in that? How long is it going to take us to realize that we need to do something or take action to improve our frequency or increase our frequency and vibrate a little bit higher? This is important because many of us know our path. Many of us know what position we play in life, where we're going, where we want to be, but not understanding our personal frequency or our vibration, not understanding where we are with that may hinder us in any kind of self-improvement, empowerment, any kind of productive, any kind of manifestation that we want to do. If we're not aware of these things, this may hinder us, right? Okay, so if you look at the chart here, shame, being shame, that is the worst and lowest vibration you can experience, right? Feeling shameful, that is one of the lowest vibrations. Now, as you move up this graph here, being in the presence is one of the highest vibrations you can experience. And just that action alone is taking the moment, taking time out right now and feeling your body in its space and taking some deep breaths and just being mindfulness, having mindfulness is a really high vibration and can really turn your situation around. Notice desire. Desire is 125 hertz right here. Notice that because that desire leads into a lot of things like trouble. Um, we experience making decisions based on desire. If you're the church going person or the person who likes to, if you're from a Christian background, that would be operating in the flesh, right? These types of things. So just look at this chart, and I would have never known that desire was such a low vibration, but it really is. Now you may desire to be of service for someone. That's different, right? Desiring or lusting, I would say, is kind of with on the same realm, right there. Notice optimism. Optimism is pretty high. And understand that a lot of us do not even reach up here. I am presence, enlightenment, right? This is hard to get to because you really do have to stay in the present and you have to understand where you are in relation to this universe, the earth, and the people in your environment around you. It is a conscious effort to get here, but you can get here. You can. A lot of us are really operating in between the third and the fourth dimension, though, right? And this is okay. It's fine. It's when you start getting down into the purgatory and your lower self and negative thought and just really not loving on yourself and being aware of your thought process. This is where most toxic people operate, in the lower third dimension. But we want to be in the fourth dimension and above, because at least at that point we are practicing empowerment. We are practicing spiritual growth, right? And we're understanding where we are in relation to everyone and ourselves, right? Once you get into this dimension right here, this is when you start seeing things differently. Your perception starts to change. Things start falling in line for you. That brings me to the next slide. Symptoms of having a high vibration. I really should say examples of having a high vibration, but nonetheless, feelings and emotions. This goes back to thoughts as well. When you think positive, it creates positive emotions and you feel good. And when you feel good, you vibrate high. And then that is contagious. You ever been around someone who was just laughing uncontrollably and you had no choice but to laugh with them because that is contagious, right? An example of you vibrating high in the external environment would be a clean, uncluttered space. You would consider that your safe space, your comfort space. You feel good when you walk in there. Um, you really are not experiencing any type of physical distress other than your norm, and you know what your norm is. I know that we all have certain things that we deal with, but we know what our functional level is. And if you're at a functional level or above, then you know that you're where you need to be, right? And anything that you do, I mean, you can easily manifest anything that you try to do or anything. It is almost like it takes little effort and it just falls right into place, right? Um, and that has a lot to do with how we are perceiving the things around us because we are vibrating so high. Anything other than what we're feeling can't really penetrate our well-being. A toxic person would not even penetrate what we got going on. They wouldn't even be able to affect us in a negative way because we are vibrating so high. And as a matter of fact, we may be teaching that person something. We may be helping them or healing them in some way. But we need to understand what our what our level is. And we need to know when things are getting too toxic and when it's starting to lower our own vibrations. And so, again, anything with the fourth dimension and above here on this chart would be considered you vibrating high. Now, so say we're in the fourth dimension where we're experiencing optimism and acceptance, and and we're in our functional state, but we want to go a little higher, right? We want to experience more wisdom. We want to enhance our spiritual gifts, right? Then we know that what we want to do is in the upper realm. So we want to practice love. We want to try to gain wisdom. We want to practice being in the presence. And this is an indication of how you would raise your vibration. Okay, so how do we evaluate our vibration, right? Because it seems like this is what we've been talking about, but really we have been trying to recognize what it is that we're feeling, right? We notice our thoughts, and we notice how our thoughts affect our emotions, right? And our emotions do dictate as well how we vibrate. So really, you have to really understand what your actual normal vibration is. How do you feel when you're fine, right? You're not feeling bad. You're not at your optimum self, but you can be much better. You can have great thoughts. Everything could be perfect. You could be seeing and predicting things that you hadn't before. That's a little higher, but what is your functional self, your normal self? You're doing fine, things are going okay, all of that, right? You know that part of yourself. When you know that baseline is what we're going to call it the baseline. When you know that baseline, then that you will be able to assess yourself when you're feeling anything other than that. And one thing you have to do is basically just check in with yourself. Go somewhere alone and just kind of sit there and ask yourself, how are you doing? What are you feeling? What does your body feel like? Um, there's many ways that we can do this. Um, as far as your environment, Like I said earlier, a cluttered environment, an unkept environment, anything, you know how your body responds. Um, for instance, if I'm experiencing a lot of fear and anxiety, 9 times out of 10, if I look around my room, I'm gonna have a little bit of chaos somewhere, right? And usually, um, when we're cleaning up, listening to music, cleaning up, it makes you feel good, right? You feel good after you have cleaned up your space. You've basically cleaned it energetically. You've decluttered your personal energy field. And this does raise your frequency. Another way to evaluate your vibration would be to go back and read your journal, see where you were, where you are now, and then, document how you're feeling. When you're documenting these things, then you know what your baseline is. You kind of know where you operate. And you can gauge that based on what you wrote or what you were going through over a period of time. And then you begin to see patterns. Another way is to take inventory of your emotions, right? Um, Again, if you know what triggers certain emotions, then you can be proactive about those things and thereby maintaining or improving your vibration or increasing your vibration. And you would be surprised at how little effort it takes to do that. So, for instance, if you're just sitting here now and you're listening to this class, um, try having a straight face, right? So you have a straight face now. Now bust out a smile. Notice the feeling between your resting face and when you don a smile. Notice the feeling between the two. When you smile, it invokes a positive feeling, a positive emotion, right? That small little task has raised your vibration. It's just really that simple. So I want to read a couple of benefits of being sensitive to your vibrations. When you're sensitive to your vibrations, these are the things that you may be experiencing, and just understanding and knowing your vibration and how it is affecting your life um, could really change the course of things for you, right? So your intention, your intuition, your intuitive ability, excuse me, and clarity are high, and you make good decisions. Right? When you're operating at a high vibration, you begin to see things that you weren't able to see before. Your perception changes. You have a lot of clarity, and you end up making good decisions. And these good decisions end up having good consequences, and so on and so forth. Your creative and innovative abilities are high. You can easily materialize what you need and use what you're given. So, again, when you're vibrating high, you can heal, you can manifest, you can create. That's why it's important to know what your personal vibration is and what you can do with that. You cooperate easily and draw the best out of others. And there, that goes into your role as a person and where you fit in society right now. Like if you're a healer, if you're a priestess in training, and you are practicing to be able to be of service of others, you're not going to be much benefit if we are operating in a low vibrational state, right? I always like to make sure that I'm clean and clear before I do any kind of service within my community or within my family or even for myself. It is about maintaining self love and self healing so that we can be productive in whatever endeavor we're trying to participate in. Um, You have deep insight into others' motivation and sources of pain and what they need in order to grow and heal. And you can offer people the help, advice, and understanding that they need. That is a part of being of service and being able to operate in a place where you um, can be who you need to be. And I have to say, being in being of service for others is, if not the most, one of the highest vibrations that you can have. If you are operating where you are in the service of others, you are in the most opportune place you can be to be the most creative, to be the most powerful, to be able to manifest and heal and do the things you need to do when you are in service of others. And that's what this class is really about, right? It's about how do we get to that point where we can operate and be of service to others and actually make a difference. Your capacity to feel into the inner dynamics of anything brings data and insight that give you an advantage in achieving happiness and success in your relationships, personal life, and business. You can dissolve feelings of separation and isolation and understand how connected and mutually sourced everything in life really is. Because we are all reflections, right? And so if you look around you and you don't like what you see, there may be some shadow work that needs to be done, right? So we need to develop a conscious sensitivity um, of what our actual personal vibration looks like. And this actually goes a lot in, it goes a lot deeper than what this class is talking about right now, because really we're just merely identifying what is what and what operates at what. But we're not even talking about or touching the chakras and the energy fields, but this is very much so related to that. So if you wanted to use a formal evaluation, there's many scientific tests and questionnaires online that can help you understand where you are emotionally, where you are mentally, and just how your perception or how you perceive other people's emotions and things of that nature. And here on this slide, I included a list of things that you these are self-examinations or examinations that may be given to you by a professional. However, there are many self-assessments online that you can look at that can help you determine where you are operating emotionally and mentally at this time. And they actually have a scoring system, and based on that system it'll tell you what level you're operating in, right? And again, where do we want to be? We want to at least be at the neutral level. We don't want to be in a situation where we're looking at the cup half empty, right? So if we're having conversations and most of our conversations consist of complaints, pessimistic comments, things of that nature, then we may not be operating in the best vibration, and we may not want to be around people. We may not want to be around our kids feeling that way. We may need to go and do some self care and some self love to put us back to baseline, right? Because that's where at least we need to be. So, I'm going to go ahead and go to the next slide. We want to talk about how to raise your vibration, right? Because once you identify where your vibration is, no matter if it's in a high vibrating vibration or if it's low or if it's neutral, we're always looking for self-actualization, right? We're always looking for ways to improve and ways to grow and to enhance our spiritual connection and our gifts. So these are some things that we can do in order to improve or increase our vibration. Just taking time out to read, that increases your brain waves, which also improves your increases your vibrations, right? Having more insight, becoming more wise, learning things, and learning how to relate. All of that can happen with just reading. Reading can do so much and open up our minds so much. And that's what's wrong with a lot of us. A lot of us don't read. A lot of us literally don't read. And reading is definitely a major tool in um, raising your vibration. Meditating. Meditating is about being in the now, being present, and listening for downloads, listening and kind of paying attention to the things around us without the effort, right? Meditating is an essential part of being someone who is self-aware and who intends on healing and being of service to other people. Working out increases our vibration. It increases our circulation. Makes us stronger. It gets rid of those stress enzymes. It allows us to see clearly and think clearly, and it's energizing. So that's a no-brainer, right? Eating high vibrational food. What is high vibrational food? Well, it's not processed food. It's not food whose nutrients have been burned out by cooking at high temperatures. High vibrational foods are foods that are going to nourish your body and cleanse your body and not bog you down with all these other poisons and toxins that float all throughout your body that make you feel tired and that make you feel depressed and make you feel sad and cause you to have ailments. Those are not high vibrational foods. So you want to be mindful about what we put inside of our bodies, because what we put inside of our bodies is very important as to how we are going to feel about ourselves, how our physical body is going to feel, and what we're going to give back to the environment. Improve, clear, and cleanse your environment. That looks like so many things, right? If just lighting some incense, lighting a candle, doing some aromatherapy, cleaning up, getting rid of clutter, all of those things will help you raise your vibration. So here's one that I really, that people don't even realize that they do. But you have to decide what you are going to allow in your subconscious, right? And for example, I have to get on my parents often because they will sit all day and listen to the news. Like, why are you watching the news? And we all know that the news plays the same stuff over and over, and it's hardly ever positive. So, what, and oh, well, I'm not watching it, I'm not paying attention to it, but it's in your background, and your body and your fields are absorbing that, right? So be mindful what you put in your subconscious. If you're not going to watch the TV, the least you can do is put on something positive, something healing, something that can play in the background. If you're not going to shut it off, at least play something that's not going to take away from your personal vibration. And this leads me into developing a good sleep hygiene. Falling asleep with the TV on, that can lower your vibration. You're not hearing the TV, you may not be understanding or paying attention to what is on that TV, but best believe it is going into your subconscious and it is working things out and it is adding to whatever toxic environment stuff you picked up throughout your day. So, developing a good sleep hygiene, so your body can recuperate, rest, regenerate, your cells can be ready in the morning. That will really help at the least maintain your baseline vibration. And being proactive in all things, being prepared, not allowing yourself to fall into a situation that you could have prevented just by being proactive, right? Um, you know, life happens, things happens, but if we tend to ignore things that need to be dealt with, if we tend to procrastinate, those things don't go away. They end up coming back and they end up coming back and piling on. And that can cause stress, fear, anxiety, worry, and we know where that lies on the on the frequency chart, right? That definitely lowers your vibration. And then you end up spending most of your time playing catch up. And I'm guilty of this too. You spend most of your time playing catch up, and that doesn't help your vibration. That doesn't improve anything. So try to be proactive in all things, as far as what you're going to put in your body, as far as what you're going to do next week, even when it comes to having to be at a certain place on time. Be prepared. If you have something to do early in the morning, be proactive the night before in getting things together. All of those things play an important role in maintaining and increasing your vibration. And at any given moment throughout any day, whatever you're doing, try practice being in the present. Practice taking a moment and grounding yourself. Take your shoes off, walk outside, splash some water on your face, but get out of your head. Um, recognize when you're having a negative thought, or recognize when you're operating in fear, and try to do your best to combat that. And like I said earlier, a simple smile can have a tremendous and a very quick effect on your well-being at that moment right there, right? So practice being in the present. Now, dancing. Dancing is fun. I can't dance, but I'm gonna dance. I've met so many people in my life who just say, "Oh, I don't dance." I don't know if it's that you don't dance, or you feel ashamed, or you feel like you can't dance, but that's a low vibration right there, right? Just dance, just move, just don't give a damn, and just dance, period. Dancing and moving your body and listening to something that inspires you and motivates you to dance is will help raise your vibration, and you would be surprised how your environment reacts to that, reacts to you dancing. Your kids want to see you dance. Your friends want to see you dance. Dancing is contagious. So definitely dance. That raises your vibration. And a lot of this seems so obvious, right? But you would be surprised how much of this we don't do in our daily lives. Speak positive affirmations. I am beautiful. I already know that I'm beautiful. You know, I am successful. I am made of so many beautiful gifts. Just ask affirmations. There's millions of them. If you don't know them, get a book, Google some affirmations. But just merely saying affirmations out loud has an effect on how you're vibrating. Even if you don't feel it at that moment, it's still working because you've put it out into the universe, right? Um, Identify your gifts and then work on them. Understand what you're good at. Find out what you're passionate about and operate in that space. Um, in my profession and over the years, I've asked people a lot, what are you passionate about? What are the things that you like to do in your pastime? What is your hobby? And many of them say, I don't know. I don't have a hobby. That's low vibrational stuff. How do you feed your soul? Where do you find and get your passion from? What motivates you, right? Again, so identify what it is you're good at, identify what your passion is. Everybody has gifts. If you say that you don't have a hobby, or you don't have a gift, or you don't know what you're good at, then you don't know yourself. And that just brings you back to understanding and knowing yourself, and finding your base vibration, your baseline, and understanding so that you can gauge and experience improvement in all the areas that you need. It's just set a self assessment. Check in with yourself. Okay, so I definitely want to thank you so much for um, watching this class. I hope that you got something out of it. I hope that this was helpful for you. And again, this is just a really basic class on your exploring your personal vibration, but there is so much more to this, right? My name is Priestess Anansi, and I'm one of the godchildren of Priestess Oshunfunke Iyanifa, and I'm also a staff member at OHI, Orisha Hoodoo Institute. I do want to point out some helpful links for you. If you would like to join our Facebook group, here is the link. If you would like to learn more and explore the classes that are offered at OHI, some are free, some are not, but you can study at your own pace. Here is a link www.learnorishahudu.com. Also, if you want to book services with Priestess Oshun Funke Iyanifa, there's tons of good classes, great classes. Also, with the other OHI priestesses, myself and some other ones, you can click on the link right there, www.learnorishahudu.com/services. There's a plethora of classes there. I hope that you found this helpful, and I will say this: be the one you seek. Be the one person you seek, and everyone else that you need in life will come. We are all reflections. All is one.
If nobody talks about you, then you are no